We're talking about two very important freedoms. People are entitled to have a freedom from racial discrimination and vilification, but people are also entitled to exercise their right to free speech. What you have in the current law concerning racial vilification, which has been in place since 1995, is a balancing of those two freedoms. So anything that does offend, insult, intimidate or humiliate on the basis of race is deemed unlawful, but there are also exemptions provided in the law if something is made in the public interest and done reasonably and in good faith. And the courts have interpreted these provisions of the Racial Discrimination Act in a fairly consistent manner during the past 2 decades. So the kind of offence that is captured by the law in the courts is deemed to be serious offence. We're not talking about trivial offence or insult, but acts that cause serious and profound harms.
Tim, you were just saying that it's unlikely that these amendments will be made in the next sitting of Parliament, that the coalition government may well wait till the new Senate sits next July next year. Nonetheless, have various groups approached you with their concerns about what effect this will have?
Yes, well, it doesn't appear that any bill to repeal the Racial Discrimination Act's provisions on racial vilification have been included in the schedule for the spring sitting of Parliament, but there is community concern about a possible change to the legislation. Namely, there's concern that it may send a signal that people have open slather to offend and insult people on the basis of race and claim complete protection under free speech. Free speech, of course, fundamental right, but it's never been absolute in our society. We have had laws concerning defamation, advertising, obscenity, fraud, public order, national security that limit free speech, to name but a few.
So when we talk about free speech, do you think perhaps there needs to be discussion in terms of what it is? Because perhaps people generally aren't understanding what constitutes free speech. I mean, you say something along the lines of being free, but there are actually limitations within that, aren't there?
Correct, and this is a very important debate to have, and I would hope that if there is to be a change in the law, that there will be consultation and an opportunity for our community to debate these issues, because they do go to the heart of some very fundamental freedoms that we enjoy in a liberal society.
Just in terms of those groups that do have concerns, clearly various Jewish groups have expressed their concern, and this comes in the wake of the declaration, the London Declaration, that drew international attention to anti-Semitism, particularly in the UK, and in fact Julia Gillard, when she was Prime Minister, signed up to that declaration.
Yes, and 2 weeks ago, of course, we saw an alleged anti-Semitic attack in Bondi, which was a sad reminder of how racial vilification can escalate to violence. This is certainly a concern that the Jewish community in Australia has, and it's not limited to that community as well. During the past 12 months, the Human Rights Commission has received a 59% increase in racial vilification complaints. A Scanlon Foundation survey also found a very marked increase in experience of racial and religious discrimination. This social context is very important to bear in mind in any debate about the laws concerning racial discrimination.
When we look at those extremes, it should not be the case. A lot of people argue that rather than legislate, it should come down to education.
Well, I think you can't change behaviour and attitudes through legislation alone. There's no dispute about that. But the law does send a very strong signal and message. And the signal that our laws send at the moment is that we're a strong multicultural society and we have certain expectations about civility in our public life. It sends the message that everyone should be entitled to participate in our life on an equal footing and not have to walk around in our streets expecting that they'll be treated like a second-class citizen.